I went to spend a quiet weekend at my beach house, but my sister's husband was already there with his whole family. He sneered, "Why is this parasite here? Get out." I smiled and said, "Sure." But what happened next made him regret it. He called me a parasite in my own doorway. I hadn't even set my bag down. I want you to sit with that for a second. Not the word, but the specific geography of it. My doorway. The one with the custom teak frame I had sourced from a lumber yard in Wilmington because the contractor said it would hold up against salt air better than pine. The house I had spent 11 months renovating. The floors I had chosen on a Tuesday afternoon by crouching in a showroom and holding sample boards up to my phone's flashlight to see how they'd look in coastal light. My doorway, and Kevin Marsh standing in it like a bouncer who had decided the cover charge was my dignity. "Why?" he said, drawing it out, tilting his head with the satisfied expression of a man who has an audience and knows it. "Is this parasite here?" Behind him, across my living room, across my white oak floors and my white sectional sofa, 15 strangers. His college roommate and the roommate's wife, his sister and her boyfriend, his parents, his cousins, their kids, all of them eating, drinking, occupying, using, shoes kicked off on my carpet, someone's wet swimsuit draped over the arm of my reading chair, a child I had never seen in my life sitting on my kitchen counter eating from a bag of chips I had left in the pantry for this weekend. The music was something with a lot of bass that I did not choose. I looked past Kevin to my sister Jennifer, who was on my couch, holding her phone with both hands, staring at it with the focused intensity of someone who was not actually looking at anything on the screen, but needed it to be between her and this moment. She knew I was coming. I had texted her Thursday morning, heading down Friday, "Can't wait," and she had responded with 3 words and 2 exclamation points. "Have a great time." 2 exclamation points. While she was already planning to give Kevin's entire family the keys. "Kevin," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected, which told me something about where I was emotionally. Not shock, something colder. "This is my house." He leaned against the frame, my frame, the teak one, and crossed his arms. "Jennifer said we could use it. It's just a house." He shrugged. 1 person versus 15. Do the math. Leave. I looked at Jennifer one more time. She didn't look up. "Jen?" I said. Just her name. An offering. She shrugged. A tiny, barely perceptible lift of one shoulder. "It's just one weekend, Claire. Don't be dramatic." Something shifted in me. Not broke, not crumbled. Shifted. The way a foundation shifts in an earthquake. Below the level of noise. Below the level anyone standing on it can hear. A structural decision happening in the deep. I smiled. Kevin saw it and something flickered in his eyes. Not concern, curiosity. He'd wanted a fight and was recalibrating. "Sure," I said. "I'm leaving." Finally, he moved aside, magnanimous in victory. Some sense. I walked back to my car. I heard the door close behind me. Heard laughter through the window. Full, relaxed. The laughter of 15 people who had just watched a problem remove itself. They thought they'd won. I pulled out of the driveway and drove exactly 3 minutes down Route 12 before I turned into the parking lot of a Shell station and stopped the car. My hands were shaking on the steering wheel, not from humiliation, not from fear, from the specific clarifying fury of someone who has just had the full picture snap into focus after years of staring at the blurred edges, and who understands, with total and irreversible clarity, exactly what to do next. I picked up my phone. My name is Claire Beaumont. I am 39 years old. I am a senior analyst for a commercial real estate investment firm headquartered in Charlotte, and I have been doing this work for 11 years. The kind of work that requires you to read documents carefully, understand exactly what you own and what you don't, and make decisions with precision rather than emotion. I want you to know that about me before I tell you the rest. I bought the beach house on Hatteras Island 4 years ago for $412,000 in cash. I had spent 3 years saving for a specific goal, and this was it. Not because I needed a vacation property, but because I had looked at the coastal market, identified an undervalued pocket, and decided that the purchase would make financial sense and give me something I actually wanted, which is not always possible and should be seized when it is. I hired a contractor named Dale Briggs, 16 years of residential renovation on the Outer Banks, recommended by 3 separate people with no overlap in their social networks, and I spent the following 11 months and $71,000 turning a dated bungalow into something I was proud of. White oak floors, custom teak door frames, expanded front porch with a cable railing that doesn't block the water view, a kitchen with quartzite counters and a farmhouse sink, 2 new bathrooms, an outdoor shower with a cedar enclosure that smells extraordinary when the wood gets wet. I made every decision. I drove down for every milestone inspection. I know the name of the electrician who rewired the kitchen and the name of the woman at the lumber yard who helped me source the teak. Every cent was mine. Every decision was mine. The house was mine. My sister Jennifer had been to the house 4 times since the renovation was complete. She had complimented the floors. She had used the outdoor shower. She had once, standing in my kitchen drinking my coffee, said, "I'm so proud of you, Claire. You built something really beautiful." Jennifer is 3 years younger than me and has always been, in the generous interpretation, someone who operates on instinct rather than planning. In the less generous interpretation, the one I had been resisting for 3 years, the one that the 2 exclamation points had finally made undeniable, she is someone who does not feel that consequences apply to her in quite the way they apply to other people. She married Kevin Marsh 18 months ago. Kevin is a regional sales manager for a building materials company. He is 43, loud in the specific way of men who mistake volume for authority, and possesses a worldview in which resources belong to whoever claims them most confidently. In the year and a half of his marriage to my sister, he had borrowed my father's truck without asking and returned it with a cracked taillight, hosted a birthday party at Jennifer's apartment that trashed the place 2 weeks before her lease renewal inspection, and told my mother at Christmas that her stuffed mushrooms were a bit heavy, in a tone that communicated he was doing her a favor by saying so. I had said nothing about any of this. Not because I approved, but because Jennifer seemed happy, or was performing happy convincingly enough that I had extended the benefit of the doubt, and saying something would have cost more than staying quiet. The parasite comment was the end of staying quiet. First call, Randall Cho, my real estate attorney, 11 years of North Carolina property law, who has handled every transaction and filing associated with my investment properties since I hired him 6 years ago. He answers his cell on weekends because I pay his firm enough that he does. I described the situation in the flat, precise register I use for professional calls. Unauthorized occupants, residential property, sole owner, access granted by a family member with no legal authority to grant access. Approximately 15 individuals currently on the premises. What outcome are you looking for? Randall asked. I want them out, legally, documentably, with no ambiguity about my rights. File a formal trespass notice through the Dare County Sheriff's Office, he said. I can draft the documentation and transmit it directly. They'll post notice and give a vacation window, typically 2 to 4 hours. After the window closes, the sheriff can remove anyone remaining. He paused. Do you want to give them until this evening? 6 p.m., I said. That's generous. I'll have the paperwork to the sheriff's office within the hour. Second call. Outer Banks Power and Utilities. I am the sole account holder, have been since purchase. I explained to the customer service representative, a patient, professional man named Eric, that I had unauthorized occupants at my property and needed to suspend electric and water service effective immediately. Eric walked me through the authorization process without drama: account holder verification, service suspension confirmation, and this was the part I wanted documented, a note in the account record that any attempt to restore service by a non-account holder would be refused. Just to confirm, I said, if someone calls and claims to be the property owner or a resident, they can't authorize reconnection without my verification. That's correct, ma'am. Account holder only. Thank you, Eric. Both calls. 23 minutes total. I drove to the Seaglass Inn, a 14-room hotel 4 miles from the house that I had stayed at once during the renovation when a plumbing issue pushed my move-in date, and checked into a room with a water view. I ordered the shrimp po' boy from room service. I turned my phone to silent, set it face down on the nightstand, and watched the Atlantic go gold and then dark through my window. I slept 9 hours without interruption. It was the best sleep I'd had in months. I turned my phone on at 8:14 a.m. to find 43 messages waiting. I made coffee from the room's machine, acceptable, not exceptional, and read them in chronological order, which took about 10 minutes. They told a story with clean act breaks. Act 1, approximately 4 to 5:30 p.m. the previous day. Jennifer and my mother performing reasonableness. Claire, can you please just call me? Claire, Kevin's family is really nice. You'd like them if you tried. Claire, mom thinks you're overreacting. My mother, I talked to Jen and I think there's been a misunderstanding. Can we work this out? The subtext of all of them being, please capitulate so we don't have to experience any consequences. Act 2, approximately 5:47 p.m., the power went out. The register shift in Jennifer's messages was instantaneous and complete. Claire, the power is out. Claire, what did you do? Kevin called the utility company. They said the account was suspended. You are being absolutely insane right now. There are children here. Claire, I swear to God if you don't fix this right now. My mother, 6 minutes later. I don't know what you think you're accomplishing, but Kevin's parents are elderly people and this is dangerous. Kevin at 6:02 p.m., the first time he deigned to contact me directly. A single text that I will reproduce verbatim because it is its own form of documentation. You spiteful little witch. Fix the power or I will make your life a living hell. Jennifer is filing a police report. Kevin at 6:09 p.m. Never mind about the police report. I learned later that Jennifer had called the non-emergency line and been told that a property owner suspending utilities to their own property was not a matter for law enforcement. The deputy she spoke with had, apparently, also mentioned the trespass notice that had been filed. This accounted for the 7-minute gap between Kevin's messages and the sudden change in tone. Act 3, beginning at 6:11 p.m., the escalation. My mother forwarding me an article about the dangers of heat exposure in the elderly without comment. Jennifer, Kevin's mom had to sit in the car with the engine running for the air conditioning. This is humiliating. Kevin, 3 consecutive messages about how I would regret this, how Jennifer deserved better, how I had always been jealous of their relationship. The jealous of their relationship detail made me set my coffee down and look at the ceiling for a moment. I called Jennifer at 9:30 a.m. She answered immediately, her voice occupying a register I associate with maximum Jennifer distress, high, tight, the specific pitch of someone who has spent the night being uncomfortable and has had all her preferred resolution strategies fail. Claire, good morning, Jen. Don't good morning me. The power is still out. Kevin's father has diabetes. You can't keep food refrigerated without power. Kevin's mother barely slept. Jen, I kept my voice even. Did you tell Kevin he could use the beach house this weekend? I mean, yes, but I didn't think. Did you give him the key? He's my husband, Claire. Did you give him the key I gave you for emergencies? Did you give it to him to take his entire family on a vacation to my property without asking me? Silence. house. It was supposed to just be a weekend. And you texted me have a great time knowing full well they were already there. More silence. The specific silence of someone who does not have a counter-argument and is trying to find one anyway. Kevin told me you could find somewhere else to stay, she said finally. It came out small. She knew it was small. Kevin told the owner to leave her own house, I said. He called me a parasite in my own doorway in front of 15 people, and you sat on my couch and shrugged. I let that settle. Everyone on the property needs to be out by 6 p.m. today. That's the window in the trespass notice. After 6, the sheriff removes anyone remaining. I'll restore utilities when I have confirmation the house is vacant. Claire, please. I've been pleasedy for 3 years, Jen. I'm done. I ended the call. Kevin rang 40 seconds later. I answered because I wanted him to hear my voice. You absolute. Good morning, Kevin. Fix the power. The power will be restored when the property is vacant, I said. The trespass notice gives you until 6 p.m. I'd recommend using the time efficiently. It's a warm day. Jennifer is going to file an injunction. An injunction preventing a property owner from suspending utilities on her own property, I said. I'd love to watch that argument in court. Randall Cho, my attorney, 11 years of North Carolina property law, would also enjoy it. Would you like his number? Kevin said something I won't repeat here. It was imaginative. I'll give him that. You have until 6, I said. Have a good morning. I ate breakfast in the hotel restaurant, eggs, good coffee, the real kind, and read the news on my phone. Around noon, I took a walk on the beach, which was beautiful and empty on a Saturday morning. The water flat and green-blue, pelicans moving in formation above the break. I did not think about Kevin or Jennifer for 45 uninterrupted minutes. It was extraordinary. At 4:45 p.m., I drove back to the house and parked 2 properties down on the street where I had a clear sightline to the driveway. What I saw was a specific kind of satisfying, not dramatic, not triumphant, but correct. The word I kept landing on was correct, like watching an equation balance. The cars were being loaded, bags and coolers and beach chairs, and all the accumulated equipment of 15 people who had arrived expecting a free vacation and were now performing the logistics of departure without power, without cold water, in the full coastal August heat. Kevin's father was on the front steps looking red and furious, speaking at someone on his phone with the contained rage of a man who has identified that there is no productive target for his anger and is struggling with that. Kevin's mother was in the passenger seat of Kevin's truck with the door open and the engine running, air conditioning presumably, looking like someone who had made poor decisions in choosing her son and was now living in the results. Kevin was dragging a large Coleman cooler across my gravel, and I want to describe his face accurately because it was a masterclass in a particular male expression, the jaw set, the eyes forward, the carefully maintained blankness of a man refusing to show that he is lost. He had the physical tension of someone carrying something too heavy and refusing to ask for help, which was, I thought, a fairly precise metaphor for his general approach to life. Jennifer came out last. She stood on my porch, the expanded one with the cable railing, with her arms wrapped around herself. Her sunglasses were on. I couldn't see her eyes. She stood there for a long moment, not loading anything, not moving toward the cars, just standing. I watched her. She didn't look toward the street. She was looking at the house, at the door, at the railing, at something I couldn't identify from this distance. The posture of someone taking inventory of a choice they had made and calculating what it had actually cost them. Then Kevin said something from the truck, and she walked off the porch and got in the passenger seat without looking back. At 6:03 p.m., the Dare County Sheriff's Office patrol car turned onto the street. Deputy Carla Washington, I had spoken to her briefly by phone when Randall confirmed the notice had been served, and she had been assigned the follow-up. She was unhurried and clear in the way of someone executing a process they have executed many times. No performance required. She spoke with Kevin at the truck for approximately 90 seconds. Kevin said something. She said something back. Kevin's expression did not change, but something in his shoulders did. A fractional loss of the set. A surrender so small it was almost invisible. He got in the truck. The last car pulled out at 6:17 p.m. Deputy Washington walked to my car on the street. I rolled down the window. Property owner? She asked. Yes, ma'am. I showed her the documentation on my phone. Deed, purchase record, utility account confirmation, Randall's trespass notice. She reviewed it with the practiced speed of someone who has seen a lot of property documents. Nodded. They're all out. You'll want to change your locks tonight if you can manage it. I have a locksmith coming at 7, I said. Randall's office arranged it. She looked at me for a moment with the expression of someone deciding whether to say something. Good for you, she said. She got back in her cruiser. I sat in my car for another minute and looked at my house in the early evening light, the way the gold hit the cedar of the outdoor shower enclosure, the cable railing on the porch catching it and throwing it back in small bright lines, the teak door frame warm and steady. Mine. Still mine. Completely. Documentably. Undeniably mine. I got out of the car and went inside. Dale Briggs, the contractor who had renovated the house, 16 years on the Outer Banks, came at 7 with a locksmith he had recommended named Terrence Park. New deadbolts on every exterior door. New locks on the gate to the outdoor shower. 45 minutes of work. Terrence handed me 4 keys and 4 keys only, and I put them in my wallet and did not give any of them to anyone. I walked the house after they left. Assessment mode, the trained real estate analyst brain that catalogs condition without emotional interference. The white oak floors, fine, no marks. The kitchen, dishes left in the drying rack, the bag of chips from the pantry empty and left on the counter. A nearly full bottle of wine I had not purchased left open on the kitchen island. The living room, the white sectional slightly misaligned, a faint ring on the coffee table where someone had set a cold glass without a coaster, the reading chair with a visible damp mark on the arm where the wet swimsuit had been. The reading chair would need professional cleaning. The coffee table ring might come out with the right product. If not, I would refinish it. The chips I could replace. I stood in my kitchen and made a genuine accounting of the damage. 1 bag of chips, approximately $4.50. 1 bottle of wine, not mine, left open, wasted. 1 reading chair requiring cleaning, estimated $120. 1 coffee table ring, uncertain outcome. Everything else, my house, intact, recovered. I opened my own bottle of wine, a Sancerre I had been saving for this exact weekend, and took it to the porch. The sun was finishing its business with the sky in the way it does on the Outer Banks, which is unlike anywhere else I have seen. The whole horizon participating, the water picking it up and multiplying it, the light going from gold to copper to a color I have never found a name for that sits between pink and gray. The cable railing was doing the thing it does in that light, each line catching it at a slightly different angle. My porch, my view, my wine. I drank it slowly. My phone had accumulated 22 more messages while I was inside. I read them with the detached attention of someone reviewing a file rather than experiencing a family conflict. Kevin, 2 more entries in his campaign, 1 calling me emotionally unstable, 1 threatening legal action that he did not specify, and that Randall, when I forwarded it the next morning, described as not actionable in any forum I'm aware of. My mother, 4 messages tracking an emotional arc from frustration to guilt deployment to something approaching genuine concern. Claire, I hope you know this has really hurt Jennifer. I thought about this one the longest. The formulation, this has really hurt Jennifer, doing the specific work of making the consequence the cause, as though Jennifer's hurt was something I had inflicted rather than something she had constructed for herself by handing over keys she had no right to hand over and shrugging when I walked into my own doorway. I did not respond to my mother that night. Several of Jennifer's messages. I will tell you about one of them because it was different from the others. At 8:47 p.m., after the anger texts, after the guilt texts, after the silence, Claire, I need to tell you something. When Kevin called you a parasite, I didn't say anything. I keep thinking about that. I'm sorry. Just that. No ask attached to it. No, so can you please at the end. I read it 3 times. Then I put the phone down and watched the last of the light leave the water. Jennifer called me on a Wednesday, 10 days later. I was at my desk in Charlotte mid-morning, and I answered because I had been expecting it, and because I have always answered her calls, and because, despite everything, I was not ready to stop doing that. I've been trying to figure out what to say, she started. Okay, I said. He's going to be Kevin. I don't want to talk about Kevin right now. I want to talk about me. A pause. I gave him the keys, Claire. I knew you were coming, and I gave him the keys anyway because it was easier than arguing with him about it. And then when you showed up, I sat there. Her voice cracked on the last 2 words. I sat there while he said that to you. In your house. I was quiet for a moment. Yes, I said. You did. I don't have a good reason. I've been trying to think of one, and I don't have one. I know. Are we? She stopped. Started again. What happens to us now? I looked out my office window. Charlotte skyline. Mid-morning haze. The kind of ordinary Tuesday view that makes it hard to believe anything dramatic is happening anywhere. I don't know yet, I said honestly. That text you sent, the one that said you were sorry, that was a start. Whether it goes anywhere depends on what comes after it. I know, Kevin. I know this is bigger than just the house. Yes, I said. It is. We talked for another 20 minutes about smaller things. The way you do when the big thing isn't ready to be resolved yet. Our mother, a cousin's wedding. Whether she'd seen the show I had recommended 3 months ago. The maintenance conversation. Keeping the thread alive. I am not going to tell you that my relationship with Jennifer is healed because it isn't. I am not going to tell you that Kevin has apologized because the last communication I received from him was a text that Randall's office is currently evaluating for potential harassment implications. I am not going to tell you that my mother has acknowledged what happened clearly and directly because she has not. What I can tell you is that the beach house is mine. The locks are new. The trespass notice is filed and documented. The reading chair has been professionally cleaned and looks fine. The coffee table ring is still there, faint but present. And I have decided not to refinish it. I want to tell you why. Randall asked me, when we spoke the Monday after the weekend, whether I wanted to pursue a civil claim against Kevin for unauthorized occupancy and property damage. He said the claim was viable. Limited damages, but documentable. It would cost Kevin more in legal fees than the damages themselves, which is a specific and satisfying kind of arithmetic. I told him no. Not because Kevin didn't deserve it, but because the weekend had already cost him something he couldn't get back. And I don't mean the expense and embarrassment of loading 15 people into cars in August heat while a deputy watched. I mean the thing that happens to a person like Kevin when the target they've identified as easy turns out to be precise. When the person he dismissed as a single variable in his math problem turned out to have better math. He called me a parasite in my own doorway. I want to say this clearly, because it is the thing I have thought about most since. A parasite is an organism that lives off a host, that consumes without producing, that takes up space in something that doesn't belong to it and calls that space its own. Kevin Marsh showed up at my property without invitation or permission. He consumed my utilities and my furniture and my pantry. He occupied space he had no right to occupy and called it reasonable. He told the actual owner to leave. He told the parasite to leave. The parasite left. And then the parasite made 2 phone calls. I am back at the house most weekends now. The porch in the morning with coffee, the outdoor shower after the beach, the cedar smell when the wood gets wet, the way the light hits the water in the evening, the cable railing doing its thing, my house, my porch, my view. Kevin's name is not in my phone anymore. I didn't make a ceremony of deleting it. I just noticed one day that I had done it without thinking, which told me everything I needed to know about where that relationship stood. The coffee table ring is still there when I put my cup down every morning. I like it. It's a record. Not of what was taken. Nothing was taken ultimately. Nothing that couldn't be cleaned or locked or legally removed. It's a record of the weekend I stopped staying quiet. The weekend I smiled the smile that isn't warm and said sure and meant something completely different than compliance. Kevin thought the math was simple, 1 versus 15. He forgot to check who owned the calculator.